Welcome back students. As discussed in the last class, today we will be talking about stereochemical strategies, and this is our 6 or final guidelines. The 6 guidelines or 6 different instruction which I am telling from the very beginning, that our main guideline was basically to follow 6 different points. Those guidelines were starting from transformation based strategies, your functional group based strategies, starting material based strategies, 4 is symmetry based strategies which you have discussed, the 5 is topology which you have just finished, and then our final strategy is stereochemical based strategies. Now, as the name implies, basically this particular strategy is very important whenever you will find a molecule contains a well defined stereocenter. Now, normally maximum natural products which were isolated from the nature are having rich stereochemical information, means that they contain stereocenters in their structure. So, it is often very much challenging or demanding to synthesize the pure enantiomer or the pure stereoisomers in a substantial quantity, so that you can do the possible biological evaluation. And probably it is now quite mandatory, if you have a drug molecule or a given target molecule, or a target molecule, where particularly for drug molecule is very important. If you have stereocenters, then you need to prepare all the stereoisomers for the given molecules, because we know that individual stereoisomers have different biological profiles. So, stereomers or stereoisomers, so individual stereoisomers have different biological property. This is very important to synthesize the particular or the proper stereoisomers which you are looking for. Let us give a very classic example. This molecule is ibuprofen. Now, it is a very well known painkiller. All of us probably take it. It basically falls in the class of this drug, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. And if you see the structure, this compound is having a stereocenter here, and in reality the ACE isomer of ibuprofen was having the main biological activity, the ACE enantiomer. ACE enantiomer is the active form. The R isomer is inactive basically. So, now if a drug supplier make a racemic drug, racemic ibuprofen, means that you are having R and ACE together, the ACE isomer is active. The point is, if R isomer is inactive, that is fine, but if the R isomer is having some harmful effect, then you will be in trouble. And it happens many times that other enantiomer which is not biologically active, if they have some harmful effect, there will be absolutely damaging or absolutely tragic incident may occur. There are few cases which have been already taken places in the human civilization, particularly if I talk about this thalidomide tragedy. Now, we will not discuss it in detail, we will be just saying that this particular compound thalidomide was given as a drug molecule. Now, one of these enantiomer is the active component, the remaining enantiomer was not the active component, and the remaining enantiomer basically having a harmful effect which causes severe defects in certain human bodies. That is why now later on all the drug related companies have clearly instructed that whenever you are trying to market a drug or a pharmaceutical intermediates which contain stereocenter, you need to prepare all the stereoisomers in pure form and then assay their biological profile individually, so that except the required stereoisomers, if the other compounds have a safe biological profile, then it is fine, but if those compounds does not have a safe biological profile, those compounds are immediately banned or not even marketed. In case of ibuprofen, as I said, the R isomer is inactive. Now, inactive means though it does not do any significant activity in the human body, still once you take in the human body, it has to be metabolized. It has to be metabolized. It has to be metabolized. Metabolized means you need to produce some extra energy to degrade the compound. So, means your body system needs some extra thing, it needs to produce some extra enzyme or extra biomolecules which can degrade the R enantiomer, and then it can be secreted out from your body in form of urine or something like that. So, in those cases basically your body needs to spend some extra energy, which is also not recommended. Why our body should produce some extra energy to degrade some molecules which is not beneficial to us. So, in those in particular, keeping view of those minds, whenever you are dealing with a stereochemically pure compound or target is stereochemically pure, you need to think about that. You should have a proper guideline or proper strategical outline that you can you will be certain to make or synthesize those molecule in a stereo pure form or enantiomer pure form. Now, we definitely under the stereochemical strategies we have some guidelines or rules. We will try to outline those or we try to highlight those rules, which will basically simplify your ideas. We say that our main idea or main thing regarding stereochemical strategies will be focused on 4 different topics, and by adapting these 4 different topics you can basically create some stereocenters or you can bring some new stereocenters in the given molecule. The very earlier approach was classical resolution technique. Classical resolution technique, we will explain these things in detail. In the classical resolution you have kinetic resolution, you have parallel kinetic resolution, you have dynamic kinetic resolution, those are basically abbreviated form. In addition, you do have some other methods which named as stereo mutation or stereo inversion, means you are doing a inversion of stereochemistry. Then the second part, which is very well known, a substrate directed strategy, means that your starting material having a existing stereocenters. Based on this existing stereocenter, your newly generated stereocenters can be created. So, it is basically substrate directed approach to newly generated stereocenters. So, if the substrate has some pre-existing stereocenter, you can use that to create or you can bring new stereocenters in the given molecule. This particular we have explained little bit, but we did not talk about in detail. We said that if you are having a prochiral unit, you can do a desymmetrization of a prochiral entities to bring new stereocenters. We have explained in certain examples that like a symmetrical molecule where you have a sigma v, both the groups are enantiotopic, you can do a sequential reaction either one end or the other end, you can create 2 enantiomers. Okay. And the final thing is which I called absolute asymmetric synthesis, Now, this is also, this fourth point is the most important or most challenging one, which is again classified into two different parts. One is the chiral pool approach. We will explain what is chiral pool approach little bit, we won't going to very deep or detail, and the second one is starting from a achiral substrate. This is the most challenging. Your substrate is achiral, you react with a chiral reagent or with a chiral catalyst to bring new stereocenter or to bring asymmetry in a given molecule. So, our main focus on the stereochemical strategies will be centered on these four topics. We will first start with the classical resolution technique. Classical resolution technique. So, in classical resolution, as the name implies, classical resolution method, as the name implies, basically you are having a racemic mixture R and S together, and you allow them to react in a similar condition. You allow them to react under similar condition, similar reaction condition. Find that the one of the enantiomer out of these two will react to give you a product. The other enantiomer reacts slowly, very slow, very slow. So, means that you now we will be trying to give you example, so that basically simplifies your whole concept. I say you are having this alcohols which is in a racemic form. So, now what does it mean? You basically having this enantiomer as well as the other enantiomer. Okay. Now, these are in equilibrium, or basically you are having a 1:1 mixture. Now, what I am saying, one of the enantiomer, let us say that top enantiomer reacts with the rate constant K2, second one is K2. Now, this I say this is fast reacting enantiomer and this is slow reacting enantiomer. The fast reacting enantiomer reacts in a some fashion to give you a compound X. The second enantiomer enantiomer is absolutely slow reacting, and we say the prerequisite is K1 is much greater than K2. So, K2 remains intact. Now, what happens? If it reacts very fast, the one enantiomer, you will get this product. Now, this enantiomer does not react. So, after this reaction is over, or a 50% of this enantiomer reacts, because you only have 50% as it is a racemic mixture. So, this 50% is reacted, you get this product. Now, this 50% is slow reacting enantiomer does not react. So, it remains intact. So, in principle, after this reaction is over, you will get a 50-50 mixture of, one case you get this product which is nothing but this one, and 50% of this slow reacting enantiomer, slow reacting enantiomer. Okay. So, this is called kinetic resolution, because there is a huge kinetic rate differences between these two enantiomer. Now, what causes this huge kinetic rate differences? Now, in particularly this kind of kinetic resolution, as the compounds are racemic and both the compounds are having different stereo orientation in the stereogenic center. So, you basically need to create a chiral environment, you need to create a chiral environment through a chiral catalyst or something like that. So, which I called chiral atmosphere or chiral environment. Now, this chiral environment might be created through a chiral reagent or through a chiral catalyst, so that two enantiomers are having some kind of interaction through a ionic interaction or through a non-covalent interaction, so that it can react to this chiral entity, and then one enantiomer reacts faster and if a slow reacting enantiomer probably does not interact with the or does not interact with the chiral environment, it probably will not be reactive. So, the essential criteria is you have to fix a chiral atmosphere or chiral environment through which you have a kind of a recognition that one of the enantiomer is recognized or interacted through some non-covalent or ionic interaction or kind of a small charged kind of interaction, so that one enantiomer effectively interacts with this chiral atmosphere and then it reacts. The slow reacting enantiomer does not react under that condition. So, that will give you a very good condition of kinetic resolution. So, this is the kinetic resolution case. Now, you do have a similar kind of scenario if you now draw the same equilibrium for the kinetic resolution to explain certain other phenomena. Now, we say kinetic resolution is very useful, but only drawback is you will basically get 50% of your desired product, 50% of your desired product means that if your desired product is the fast reacting enantiomer, you get 50%, if the second reacting or slow reacting enantiomer is the desired product, you get 50%. So, 50% product has to be thrown out. So, this is your kinetic resolution which we explained in the earlier slide. Now, I am saying after the 50% fast reacting enantiomer which basically reacts, and this is slow, is K1 and K2. So, in the kinetic resolution K1 is greater than K2. Now, see I am saying that your 50% desired product has to be thrown. So, what you can do? Now, if there is a possibility that slow reacting enantiomer can be converted to the fast reacting enantiomer through some stereo inversion, then it is possible that you get your 50% particular product starting from this fast reacting enantiomer. Okay, that is done. Then the slow reacting enantiomer, if you can do some inversion at this stereogenic center, this is also possible. Now, this particular point we called stereo inversion or stereo mutation. Mutation means you basically mutate is a terminology often used in the biology, but stereo mutation means changing. A stereo center has been changed. So, sometimes kinetic resolution plus stereo inversion is coupled together. Inversion is coupled. If you can couple these two pathway together, you have a very good pathway to get one enantiomer exclusively. So, this all depends which kind of compound you are dealing with. Now, next we will be talking about something else which is named as DKR. Now, we will again draw the same kinetic equation, and we are saying that okay, this DKR is the process. The idea has to be essentially taken from this kinetic resolution, which is this is fast reacting and this is slow reacting. Now, I am saying that this fast reacting enantiomer react, there is absolutely no doubt, okay. It reacts to give you the product. Now, slow reacting enantiomer remains in the reaction mixture. Now, if there is a possibility that slow reacting enantiomer can instantly, so your kinetic resolution is taking place K1, K2, we said K1 much greater than K2. So, kinetic resolution will stop, Kr will stop when all the fast reacting enantiomer reacts. So, 50-50 it will stop. Okay. Now, the slow reacting enantiomer is 50% is there. Now, is it possible that a 50% slow reacting enantiomer you can again convert it to 25% R and 25% of S, means that you will be trying to do a racemization. Now, why this is helpful? Now, if your racemization you can couple with kinetic resolution, then the 50% slow reacting enantiomer will again give 25% R, 25% S. Now, this 25% R, which is the fast reacting enantiomer, now again undergo kinetic resolution to give you this product. So, in principle now 50% plus 25%, 75% have been reacted. You have 25% of slow reacting enantiomer. Again this 25% you convert it to 12.5% of S and 12.5% of R. Then again make sure this kinetic resolution is triggered up. So, you have to have a system. So, DKR basically consists of a kinetic resolution coupled to with a racemization protocol, and eventually the racemization rate constant must be very high. The kinetic, so the racemization rate constant, say I say Ki. So, Ki must be very high than the rate constant of the faster enantiomer, means that there will be always a dynamic equilibrium. There will be always a dynamic equilibrium between the slow reacting enantiomer and the fast reacting enantiomer. There will be always a dynamic equilibrium. Now, this dynamic equilibrium you can basically do it chemically, you can do it enzymatically, you can do it by different way, and it will be quite interesting if your substrate has some unique structural features, has some unique structural features, so that the substrate itself can undergo a very efficient DKR reaction. Now, I will show you only one example. This particular example is very important. I am giving you a substrate which is basically alpha substituted beta keto ester. Now, this substrate, if you see their structure, I am saying that these two enantiomers are in dynamic equilibrium. Now, why? This substrate is having extremely acidic kinetic hydrogen. So, in reality probably you just need to keep those substrates, probably they will epimerize instantly, because the epimerization is driven by this high kinetic acidity of this compound. So, now if you take a racemic mixture of both this compound plus minus, and you are saying that the in our chiral environment only plus isomer reacts. So, this is the plus isomer, this is minus isomer. Okay. Now, I am saying that plus isomer reacts to this carbonyl group. Now, if this compound is basically a prochiral compound. So, probably this compound gives a particular nucleophilic addition in this way, because this compound is a prochiral. So, it is having two phase, rephase, psi phase. The nucleophile can attack from psi phase or rephase. I assume that nucleophile attacks from a particularly one phase. So, basically have only this product. Okay. Now, I am saying that if fast isomer reacts faster, what the slow isomer is doing? Okay. Now, your dynamic kinetic resolution or the racemization will come into picture. The slow reacting enantiomer, due to presence of this highly labile kinetic acidic hydrogen, it will instantly again epimerize. So, there will be no matter whether the first reacting enantiomer reacts or not, there will be always a steady supply of racemic mixture. So, once the slow reacting enantiomer again epimerizes back, the fast reacting enantiomer then reacts. Slow reacting again epimerizes, reacts. So, the reaction will continue till you get the final product. Now, the final product, now you see the epimerization has to be suppressed because the kinetic acidity has been now substantially reduced. You earlier having 2 carbonyl which is extremely acidic, now one of the carbonyl has been functionally interconverted to another functional group. So, now the kinetic acidity has been reduced, kinetic acidity of this product has been now reduced. So, this is a very classic example of DKR. Now, basically we are talking about the proof of concept, we are not giving you any example. So, now we will be trying to discuss the similar kind of strategies or other explanation. We will give you a pure case studies of kinetic resolution strategies, that how kinetic resolution was done in the lab scale and how you can separate the 2 enantiomers, and then basically proceed to a valuable intermediate or valuable enantiopure intermediate in a stereoselective fashion. So, we will continue discussing on these topics in the next class. Till then, goodbye.